We're all taught that love is this magical thing we just fall into, a feeling that either happens to us or it doesn't. But what if that's not the whole story? What if love is actually something we do, something we build, and something we can choose?
So let's just start with this one powerful question, which is really at the heart of Dr. Michael Lukens' work. What if love isn't a passive feeling at all, but an active, deliberate choice you make over and over again? I mean, really think about that. If that's true, it changes absolutely everything.
So on one side, you've got the way most of us think about it. Love is a feeling, right? It's a spark, it's chemistry, and, well, it can fade. But on the other side, there's this radically different idea. This theory says that real, lasting love isn't a feeling. Nope, it's your fundamental orientation, a conscious choice, and something you actively practice.
To really get this, we've got to look under the hood at what's actually driving us. And I'll give you a little spoiler. It's not what most of us think it is. This theory calls our internal engine emotioning. Now, think of it less like an emotion, like anger or happiness, and more like emotional gravity. It's this constant, fundamental force that's always pulling us toward things or pushing us away from them based on what they mean to us. It is literally always on.
And this quote right here, this turns centuries of thinking completely upside down. We love to see ourselves as these super-rational creatures making logical choices. But what Dr. Lukens is saying is, reason doesn't actually motivate anything. Reason is just a tool. The desire to pick up that tool in the first place, the whole why bother, that comes from our emotioning.
Okay, so if we've got this emotional engine that's always running, the big question is, how do we steer it? Well, this is where we get to the heart of it all, defining love not as some mysterious feeling, but as a practice we can actually learn and do.
And it has a name, Committed Benevolent Interest, or CBI for short. Let's break it down. First, there's commitment. This is the decision to stick with it, to serve the other person's well-being, even when you're not feeling it. Then there's benevolence. This is the active desire for the other person to be happy and to thrive. And finally, you have interest. This is that genuine curiosity to just keep learning more about them, to keep discovering who they are. See, it's not a mystery, it's a skill set.
This image just nails it, doesn't it? Love isn't an accident. It's not something you stumble into. It's something you construct, piece by piece, choice by choice. Every act of kindness, every moment you choose to be curious instead of critical, it's like you're weaving another thread, making the whole thing stronger.
Okay, but that brings up a pretty big question, right? If we're wired for this kind of connection, why is life so often full of conflict and pain and misunderstanding? What gets in the way?
Well, the answer goes back to an even more primal instinct we all have, the drive to avoid pain. It's like our factory default setting. And when we were kids, it worked great. But as adults, that same simple program, just run away from anything that hurts, can actually become the very thing that blocks our ability to love. And to avoid that pain, we kind of split ourselves in two. You've got your system, that's your body, your gut feelings, your authentic emotional truth, and then you've got your observer. That's the storyteller in your head. And the observer's number one job is to spin a tale that keeps you safe from pain, even if it means completely ignoring or even lying about what your system is actually feeling. And that whole process creates what's called a defense boundary. It's like we build this wall inside ourselves to keep out the bad feelings, shame, fear, guilt. We think it's protecting us. But what we don't realize is that by building that wall, we've created this dark, hidden space, a perfect breeding ground for something way more toxic than pain.
And that toxic thing is contempt. You have to understand, contempt isn't just a lack of love. It is love's active, corrosive, destructive opposite.
So what is it exactly? It's a total rejection of another person's value. It's disdain. It's devaluing them. And here's the kicker. It doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It grows directly out of our own unhealed emotional wounds that are festering away behind that defensive wall we built.
And we've all seen contempt in action. It's the sarcastic jab that's meant to sting. It's that dismissive wave of the hand, the classic eye roll, or when someone just completely shuts down and stonewalls you. These aren't just bad moods or communication problems. They are all symptoms of an underlying orientation of contempt. But here's the amazing part. This is where the hope comes in. Because if love is a choice, if it's an orientation, then we can consciously choose it.
And when we choose CBI, it doesn't just make things a little nicer, it fundamentally transforms our entire emotional landscape.
Just look at this table. This is maybe the most powerful idea of all. Choosing love doesn't mean you magically stop feeling things like anger or fear. No way! It changes what those emotions do. In a state of contempt, anger becomes an attack. But through the lens of CBI, Committed Benevolent Interest, that exact same anger can become constructive. Shame, instead of being about self-hatred, becomes about the pain of letting down someone you care about. Guilt motivates you to fix things, not to beat yourself up. The basic emotion is the same, but its entire purpose gets rewired by your core commitment.
So at the end of the day, it really boils down to this. We don't get to choose if we feel things. That emotional engine is always running. The real choice, the only choice that matters, is what our core orientation is going to be. Are we going to let love be the filter for our world, or are we going to let it be contempt?
And that leaves every one of us with a really important question to think about. Every single one of our lives exists somewhere on this continuum between love and contempt. With every thought, every action, we're taking a step in one direction or the other. So the only question left is, which way are you choosing to move?